Okay, and welcome to Clear Notion. In today's video, we're going to be talking about grief. Specifically, the causes of grief, the effects, grief at its best, its worst, and also the 5 stages of grief, because you really can't talk about grief without mentioning that to some degree. So basically, most evolutionary theorists assume that grief is a byproduct of us wanting to be in groups together in a tribe. Because obviously being together in a group helps us survive a lot better than not being in one. So you can kind of think of mothers and their kids, people in their clans, their tribe. We do better together. So really the cause of grief is that you lose something you were attached to or something you were identified with. And really everyone's mind has this incredible ability to identify with many, many different things, which is part of the reason what makes it so incredible. But the idea is when something is lost, you feel grief, sadness. You feel the loss. Now, you can lose nouns like people, places, things. You can also lose more subtle things that are more difficult to identify, such as specific ways of getting a need met. Now, a lot of times when we feel loss of a person, it's loss of what that person did for us, of the specific way that we were getting a need met. We can also feel loss in the form of a role, some specific way of interacting with the world or with the group that you used to do. And you can feel loss for time, lost opportunities. So the effect that this has on us, on our minds and our bodies, I guess, is that it makes you want to honor the thing that it was lost. You want to celebrate the loss. And I know celebration is a weird word there, but that's kind of what it is. So a funeral is, in a way, it's a celebration of the life that the person lived. It's a celebration of a loss that everyone is sharing together. And it's bringing everyone together. The crying is a celebration, it's a ritual, really. Of course, it releases chemicals from your body too, helps you chill out a little bit. Grief makes you want to, as another effect, to reach out to people that can support you and help reorient yourself to, tackle the world, the environment in new ways that work better than what was previously used. Yeah, and it makes room for the new. What was working in the past is no longer going to work now. So now we're clearing the way and we're creating space for new things to happen. So at its best, it holds people together, holds the tribe together. And grief is actually a good sign. A lot of times, if you're feeling grief, then you've probably gotten to the core of an issue and you're moving through it. A lot of times people don't often get stuck at grief. They get stuck at the other ones, apathy or so forth. Grief, if you can move through it, it can be very healing and a very spiritual process. You're not the things that you thought you were. And opportunity was lost. And so you feel grief. And if you move through it, the best way to handle your emotions is just to run straight at them. You can really move up. At its worst, you get stuck in it. At its worst, every emotion, you get stuck in it and you don't move through it. And really what happens is your energy is put toward the grief, the celebration of the loss, when really it could be put towards something else that is having more value, more serving life. So that's grief at its worst. Now, there are 5 stages of grief that, a lot of people will talk about, and really they're just kind of levels of emotion, people bouncing around on them. People don't necessarily follow all of these levels, all of these, stages of grief, but it is a tendency. So first off, what happens is people feel denial, which is the first out of these 5 stages. And really what this is either repression which is an unconscious mechanism of kind of pushing it away out of your mind, out of your awareness, or suppression, which is consciously being like, oh, I don't want to think about that. So we have denial, and really conscious coping mechanisms here. And then we have anger. People move through that. And anger is a higher level of energy. So it just feels better. It doesn't feel great, but it feels better than having to deal with the actual grief. We have bargaining as the third step here, the third stage. This is kind of a combination of fear. You don't want this to happen. You don't want to feel the grief. You're scared of it. And you really want the opposite. You don't want to lose it. So it's a combination of fear and desire. And so the fourth stage is depression, where, nothing can be done. It's kind of like apathy. It's not very helpful, honestly. And then once you move through it, once you finally do experience the grief, you're able to accept it. And that is the fifth stage. And that is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. More videos in the future. Peace.